This is a very special series about design and innovation, about people who are designing ideas and solutions in New York and in the tri-state area. Design and innovation is about big ideas and problem solving. Sometimes there's a wow factor. Other innovations are the quiet achiever. But all good design on this series is about making our daily lives and our futures just a little brighter. Welcome to New York by Design.
Gathered a group of New York design industry leaders via Zoom, tasked with the job of judging each innovation and selecting our finalists before ultimately crowning one design project the winning innovation of the season.
This is like the all-stars of New York.
We're looking through each of the projects really carefully, really considering the merits of each and having a really robust debate.
The thinking around diversity and inclusion, the thinking around world-changing things, it just truly inspires me to be a designer in New York.
Well, design is always needed. Design has always been a solution to better aspects of our lives.
I think the last thing the world needs now is a different form or a different flavor of their favorite cookie. I think that we really need new products that are making a difference in our lives.
Let's get started with our first innovation.
Mauro Porcini was involved in the development of this project, so he withdraws from the discussion.
Well, Pepsi, as a big beverage company, they know the numbers, and to address this problem of single-use plastic is critical right now.
Ultimately, I think there's a level of beauty and elegance and sophistication in the design solution, both physically and in the interaction, and ultimately in the use of the product.
When we think about PepsiCo, a lot of us just think about cola. But they collaborate with so many companies, and they do much more than that. So when PepsiCo innovates, they have a real opportunity to create massive impact.
There are some pillars that are really important for us and also society at large. Sustainability is a huge thing.
Totally.
Health and wellness is a huge thing. So let me show you one of the examples of our projects.
Oh, Sodastream, I know that, but not Sodastream Professional. What is this?
Right, you might know Sodastream as a at-home sparkling water maker, but we wanted to create a new innovation that allows you to have that same experience at work, at universities, at the airport, and you can really customize the flavor intensities.
And the temperature.
And the temperature. And the future, we can have more minerals and vitamin enhancements.
Does it have to be that bottle?
Not at all. So I have an account and it's connected to my QR code on my bottle and it already knows my account and it's pouring my favorite drink that I've already saved. Oh, and we also have an app and it tracks your hydration, how much water you're drinking a day so you meet your goals, as well as how many single-use bottles, plastic
You
bottles
haven't hydrated today.
I haven't, but I have saved 27 bottles so far.
Perfect. Now for the taste test. Cheers. Orange grapefruit, really good. So Marco, the fun part, what was the design strategy?
So we really wanted to reinvent what drink equipment was all about. If you think about your typical vending machines where you go and you get water now, they're big, they're bulky. We tried to think of it more like contemporary furniture, something that's more quiet, more sophisticated and elegant. So I rushed to the workshop, came here, got some foam core, and with the team, we built this full-scale model.
Did you test it as this physical scale, or how did you test it?
These things like these rough models, these sketches, you can't show them to consumers because they don't get an idea of what the concept is and if it's successful. So we built everything in virtual reality, and we're able to really evaluate the unit in the end context that it really lives in.
So Anton, where are you? That's a really cool virtual background.
That's not virtual, it's actually real. I'm in a barn in the middle of the Baltic Sea outside of Sweden. But I've been in the room next to you for the past 3 years working on the project, and I'm working on it from here as well. So PepsiCo has some strong sustainability strategies, and it was actually the reason I joined the company, the ability to make a big impact from my little contribution in a giant corporation. Little changes can have massive impact.
Actually, when you talk about impact, with the Sodastream portfolio, we're going to save 67 billion plastic bottles by 2025.
67 billion. Is that the right number, Anton?
You don't believe me?
I don't know.
That's the goal.
Big corporate often comes under fire for not doing their part for a better planet. But they can't do it by themselves. We all have to play our part. When we see ideas like these, we have to embrace them.
Well, the next project is the Bilio Mask, and it actually is the mask that I use.
I very much appreciated the fact that they mold the masks away from the mouth so that your lips didn't really touch the fabric anymore.
It's a great example of rapid prototyping and rapid innovation addressing a real human need.
An innovative idea started right here in Tompkins Square Park that met a need right in the middle of the pandemic.
So these are Bilio Masks. They are made by two of my really great friends, Billy and Nick Smith. When the pandemic hit, they thought quickly and they built a mask within 10 days. So I actually went home to quarantine with my family for about 5 weeks, and I saw what Nick and Billy were up to. And then I was able to come back with, about 100 masks to hand out to people here in Tompkins Square Park and around the city.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, it was wonderful.
So this is a mask. Nice packaging. Let me just take a little social distance from you for a moment. Love the fabric, I have to say. Soft but very thick.
Yeah. What's really great about this design is that it scored a very high filtration rate.
Yeah, that feels good.
That looks fabulous on you.
Thank you. So I understand that this factory where they're creating the masks, they were actually knitting something else.
This is the Bilio bag.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's
it's a magnet.
That's a nice detail.
Isn't it beautiful?
Really beautiful detail. Hello, Billy and Nick. How are you guys doing?
Good. Nice to meet you, Kiram.
So tell me about your project.
We were the first to introduce a silver-coated yarn in a knit-to-shape mask during the pandemic.
Our mask material utilizes a recycled polyester yarn that we source here in the States. And combining that with silver-coated yarn, we're able to get what our mask currently is, essentially 100% made out of recycled material with less than 1 gram of waste.
The silver-coated yarns, like Nick was saying, release a positively charged silver ion in the presence of moisture that helps with antimicrobial and odor. It also provides a cool marl look on the mask that we love, and I think that's sort of where it took the fashion and performance approach.
I like that the form that's done in the knit projects from your face, so my lips are not touching my mask.
So this is a selection of what we're able to do. We're able to mix and match yarns and create an amazing color palette. This is our flatbed knitting machine where all the development's been taking place.
Beautiful machine. I saw one of those machines about a year ago in Italy.
You guys, thank you so much. New York is a better place because of you. Thank you.
So we saw a perfect example of how design reacted to a need. And that's what good design is. It's about reacting to a social behavior and coming up with something that's smart, intelligent, high quality, and offering people a better life.
So the next project's called Energy Tree, and these are freestanding trees that absorb solar energy.
I love the fact that those things can collect enough energy to run the whole building. And it's an example of how high-tech can look beautiful.
The World Expo happens every 4 years, and since the first one in London in 1851, it's always been about showcasing the very latest technologies. The 2021 World Expo is going to take place in Dubai, and a New York design company is building an incredibly ambitious sustainability project there.
We did the design in the New York studio, and we had a very ambitious program from the outset. And that was to create something completely self-sustaining, generating all of its own power, cooling, generate all of its own water. So this is the original concept model. So what you're seeing is that all of the exhibition space is actually sunk below the ground, and then we take the landscape up over the rest of the building. So what that means is that actually all of the interior of the building is very heavily insulated. So from the beginning, we've reduced the problem of cooling to a minimum.
I see.
So then after that, how do you provide all the energy to meet all of those needs? Well, obviously, to put solar panels on the roof, and this is 130 meters across.
Wow.
But when we did a calculation, we realized it still wasn't creating enough power. So we had a problem. And so we thought, well, how do we use the landscape to try and solve the rest of the problem? We thought, well, maybe it's a landscape piece, something like a tree. So Kaz, who's in charge of our industrial design group, took away the kind of issue of a tree, and how does that become a solution?
We found this dragon tree that was very prominent, and it met some of the architectural attributes we required for this energy tree. It had a stem, it had this reach that could support this disc up above, and importantly, it would create a lot of shade. What we needed to achieve is something that was strong enough to support a fairly lightweight disc up above. There was a company only 10 minutes from the site called Premier Composite Technologies that builds with composites and carbon fiber. It was a perfect match because they also worked with a photovoltaic company, Sunovation, and they could help us develop this lightweight disc at the top.
Hi Gabrielle, how's it going in the Dubai factory?
Everything is fine. Look what I found.
Ah, I remember that. That's this steering wheel from the yacht that was the inspiration for the E-trees.
We use the actual dishes are 17.6 meter in diameter, so they are super large. They still need to provide enough stiffness that the glass photovoltaic panels do not crack.
It tracks the sun from morning through to evening around a vertical axis, and we're able to optimize the angle at about 25 degrees. And overnight, it returns back to its beginning position for the next day.
So far, this enormous innovation appears as a one-off, but there's already talk of making this reproducible. Basically, an industrial design product for other sites. We could be looking at a whole new way of building renewable, off-the-grid, large-scale structures.
I think that the Wix Playground is great, focusing on the idea of bringing in emerging designers.
The physical space almost becomes secondary to the idea that they are providing an open space for learning and collaboration and education.
As well as asking students to give them feedback on their platform to help co-create products. And that's exactly what the future holds.
Right across the street from the Whitney Museum, a global high-tech web design company chose this space for a fascinating experiment in innovation. Bang!
Good, how are you?
Long time no see,
Oh my gosh.
darling.
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Welcome to Wix Playground.
Thank you. So Wix is a website building platform.
Yes, it is.
I have 3 websites on Wix.
We know you do.
But I've never been to this site.
Yes.
So tell me where we are and what we're doing.
Yeah, we are in the Wix Playground, New York City. It's our little home for designers. And we have events here. We have lectures and workshops. We also have our Wix Playground Academy, which is our summer web design program here. We have leading designers that come in and teach students. So it becomes just, think of it as an open forum for the students.
Students come here for 3 months for free. What's in it for Wix?
So we get real-time feedback from the students. So it's a great way for us as a company to really kind of be in the forefront of design. And we teach them how to storytell, how to talk a little bit about themselves. And so we teach them about animation, illustration, motion design. They learn a sense of purpose and a sense of passion. Who are they in the world? How do they have that as the first and forefront, when they interview, when they meet somebody?
What is the criteria for success for the students coming out of the program? A better job, more money?
A career, Debbie, a career.
Hagit.
How are you?
Oh, good, thank you.
What made you decide to start the Wix Playground?
After a decade of Wix being deeply involved in design on the web, we wanted to try and bridge the gap between a design academy, what students learn in design school, and between what we saw as the actual practical experience needed in the industry. We give the student the ability to deal with real projects and with real clients, having the professional support and mentorship from the greatest creatives around the world.
And what made you decide to choose New York?
Well, New York is the center of everything big, and all great designers and creatives come to New York to start their own and to try new things. So we know it's the best place to start in.
Ladies, what did you learn? What did you experience?
I had a great time. I made so many amazing friends, and also making this portfolio was very helpful because it helped me land a job in my field, which was a really big deal for me.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I had a great time getting to know everyone online. I was able to create a portfolio that was just specific to me and unique to I feel my personality and the type of work that I want to do.
And so what's next?
Well, I'm currently freelancing, but I'm looking for an opportunity with a studio. Feel free to contact me.
What the students get from the Wix Playground Academy is incredible. But what the Wix team gets from the students with real-time feedback is invaluable as well. This innovation is a win-win for all parties.
I thought this cocoon house was very fascinating because it didn't look like a regular house.
I think the play of light across some of the organic surfaces was quite beautiful.
I was very curious about how they spackled the inside of those curved walls. It looks so beautiful and smooth on the inside. I'm like, how did they do that?
The cocoon house is designed around some very important architectural principles. It's designed to be very specific to this site, and yet it's also designed to be replicated. That's confusing. How can that be? Nina, I'm getting some mixed messages here. This house is so specific to this site, and yet it can be built anywhere? How does all that work?
It's actually more an approach to the site, which is replicable. So I always tell my students, when you design and draw a site plan, the first thing we need to know is where's the north. And then we need to know where the prevailing breeze is coming from, which is from the south. And then we need to know our sun path. So this house is very much based on this really simple, basic passive house principles, which is about collecting solar heat gain from the south and retaining that heat in the northern wall.
Wow, Joe, I'm looking at this house. I'm seeing a lot of curves.
Yeah, it was quite complicated. It definitely was a challenge for sure. Each of the shingles from the top down, they're steamed in a steamer to the radius of the bend of the roof. This little section here could take a week to 10 days.
Wow,
just
week
to
to
get
10
it right.
days.
Here's another example of the radiuses in the house. These are the main structures. They were made off-site, a company called Unilam. They were fabricated and designed as we were building the foundation.
Now tell me about these sheetrock curves. How do you do that without getting any seams? How do you bend sheetrock like that?
There's some scoring, but there's what we use is called the wiggly board. It's a plywood that is made to bend. That's the first layer, and then there's 2 layers of drywall on top of that.
So this house is a pilot, almost a prototype, right? Anybody could have this house because it would be replicable.
Yes, now that it's built, it could definitely be replicable.
Wow, I love how these skylights really illuminate the hallways.
Each piece of glass is a different color. We had to match Nina's color scheme, and there's interlayers inside the glass itself. Kind of like a car windshield when you have that film inside of it.
So it's not tinted?
It's part of the glass. It's part of the interlayer in between the glass.
Now, Nina told me she was inspired by the color palette of a Turner painting, and now that I know that, I think she really nailed it. Now tell me about these panels up here. They look really unusual.
They are. We eliminated the curb and waterproofed the skylight framing itself right into the structure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm used to seeing skylights that are added on to the exterior of the roof, and these are all part of the design.
Yes, this gives it one nice, sleek look.
So Scott, when you walk in here is when you can really see the curve.
Oh yeah, not a seam anywhere.
The curve is actually based on the idea that this house revolves around light, and so the eggshell shape here takes in the shadow projections.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it. We have the site, we have the curve. What's the third element that's driving this?
Is the experience of the house and well-being in the house comes paramount. So even though this is a gold LEED certified house, it's an effective element that's actually serving the affective design of the house. So architects like Richard Neutra throughout time have used reflecting pools as a design element.
I really like what Nina said about effect serving affect. The mark of a true innovation is that it solves a functional problem but delivers a positive emotional response as well. And you'd have to say, the self-sustaining, solar-powered cocoon house does exactly that.
Which design innovation from the series do you think should win? Vote for your favorite project in the Nambe People's Choice Award. Just by casting your vote, you could win one of 3 designer homewares. Steve Casalino's Curvo wine rack, Karim Rashid's Morphic chip and dip, and Scott Henderson's chillable salad bowl with servers. All commissioned by Nambe. Design your life. Just go to NewYorkByDesign.com or scan the QR code on the screen and cast your vote in the Nambe People's Choice Award. Good luck. We're moments away from finding out which innovations our judges have chosen to go through to the best of the best final later in the season. But first, let's take a look at a ByDesign spotlight.
My daughter, a few years ago, got head lice, and oh my God. Not only does your child get head lice, but so do all of her stuffed animals. This ByDesign Spotlight is an innovation that cuts through all of that drama.
Moshe, I guess this is a typical scene that families would have all over the world.
Yes, what we see is the chemicals being used to get rid of the head lice. Insecticides, some of them are the permethrin. Kids react to those with seizures, headaches.
Does the lice actually start to develop an immune to these things after a while?
We call those the superbugs.
This is quite similar to our overuse of antibiotics.
Yes, this is correct. The more we use, the less effective it becomes.
Michelle, as a responsible mum, how do you feel about putting chemicals through your child's hair?
It really worries me. I would actually really want to wash it out right now.
Yeah. I mean, someone who's, super precious about the environment as well, I'm kind of seeing all this stuff going straight down the drain and, into our systems. And I can smell it as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a really, really pungent.
But what else can you do? It feels like the lesser of two evils. You can't leave the lice in.
Moshe, I sense you've developed a solution to this whole horrible, nasty problem we've got here.
Yes, Brendan. We developed the VCOM A1. The VCOM A1 is a non-chemical treatment against head lice and eggs. We comb the hair. The unit develops suction force, a vacuum that pulls into the capsule the head lice and the eggs.
It's surprisingly really smooth. I'm kind of really impressed. And it's a relief that I'm not having to use harmful chemicals on my child's hair.
Phoenix, what about you? Does it hurt?
Not at all, and it doesn't smell.
It doesn't smell. Yeah, I bet that's the best bit, right? Moshe, I noticed you've got little tiny grooves in the tooth combs here. What's going on there?
We need to create friction between the hair shaft and the head lice so we can easily get the head lice as well as the eggs off the hair.
Right, because if it was all smooth, it would just sort of slip straight through.
This is correct.
There's two main sort of functions here. There's the right angle, and then it's straight. Why have you done that?
This function is for the long hair versus the short hair. Normally girls, boys, easier, more intuitive to come with the 90 degrees when we use it for long hair and the 180 degrees when we use it in short hair.
So I love this little one-way valve. That's to keep the little nasties tucked away.
Yes, as we switch on, the valve opens itself. The little creatures go in, including the eggs, and maintain in the capsule.
And that just gets tipped straight in the bin.
This no touch, straight into the bin.
I'm a firm believer that at the heart of good design is a problem worth solving. The V-Comb is a clever and elegant little product that is going to make a massive difference to families all over the world.
And now it's time to find out which innovations from this episode go through to the best of the best final later in the series.
I love the Sodastream project by PepsiCo. It eliminates single-use plastic, and it was an elegant design.
I'm really glad that this system is being acknowledged for the power and impact that I think that it can have in the world.
Energy Tree belongs in the top 10 because just look at it. I mean, it's so cool looking. And I love the idea that these solar collectors almost look like a forest as opposed to some industrial complex. It puts it right in the top 10 for me.
Congratulations for those innovations, and we wish them well for the final. Join us next time for more design innovations on New York by Design.
For more information on any of the innovations featured and to cast your vote in the People's Choice Award, go to NewYorkByDesign.com.